forward and vote in favor of the ordinance. And if you're curious about any of those studies I've talked about, I can email that information to you, more details. I see maybe some confused faces if you'd like to learn more about that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Rich Klingbeil?
My name's Rich. I'm at 400 Santa Alicia Drive, right over here. I was here, I think, 7 years ago because I was getting kicked out of an apartment complex. You may remember I came down and talked to you folks about it. Because they were converting the apartment complex I was in to senior low income. And so a bunch of us got thrown out. And unfortunately, that experiment backed by the city at that time didn't work. And so now they've gone to anybody that wants to rent there. In any case, I'm getting kicked out again. So I thought I'd come back and visit you folks. And I know you can't do anything about it. According to AMI, there's not much you can do about it. But I think we need to publicize this. We need to get kind of a moral compass going here a little bit. The apartment complex that I'm in, Holly Manor, and then the Commons over at Enterprise, have 50% Section 8 residents. Section 8s are the people that have got disablement, they've got mental problems, they've got low income, a little bit of everything. And a lot of them have waited 5 to 6 years to get housing. Excuse me. And so they finally got their own place. They got an apartment. They've got appliances. They got furniture. They got pets. And all of a sudden, we've got a Southern California buyer that came up, just purchased the 2 complexes, and basically are throwing everyone out. Their idea is to totally remodel the complexes, lift the rents $300 to $400 a month, and start over again. The 2 local guys here that show up are extremely rude young punks. They're 21 and 25 years old. You can imagine our response to that as well. You know, they're just strange folks. But I think what we need to do is understand that these are people. These are households that we're losing in Rohnert Park so somebody can make some money. And I think that we need to recognize, too, that we can't continually just run with the law. At some point, somebody has got to do something. And one of my ideas is maybe when they go through the permit process here in town, you can slow that down a bit for them. I'd love to see that happen. At this point, my first suggestion would be to take down the Rohnert Park, the Friendly City sign down the street, because a lot of us don't think that anymore. It's not a very friendly city for us. If you look at the available units for anyone in this area, very few available apartment units. Section 8, I've worked with the head of housing, James Hackett up in Santa Rosa. He told me that they've got 5 available units in the county. We would be putting 100 households out. There's nothing to do. He said he couldn't do a thing. He just can't. Hopefully you can extend that because we've got several pieces of paper there.
Okay, excuse me. Who do you say will give you a minute? And you're not going to get 3 minutes from everybody.
I'm sorry?
So how many people would want to give you 3 minutes to them? So 6 more names up here. Is that everybody who's there? Okay, Sherry. So, excuse me, just a minute. I can say the names just a second. Right? Who's right? Who's Shelley? Denise? Sandy? Allison? And you must be Margot. Okay, you get 5 more minutes.
Okay. When?
You know, honestly, guys, you can't just yell out, okay? Wait a second. I just got your card. Are you Chris? Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, these folks came to town with a full knowledge of Section 8 in these 2 buildings. They knew damn well they were going to throw them out. And they just decided to plunge ahead and make it happen. We went to the Community Voice and the Press Democrat to try to get some publicity on this with absolutely no response. I think one of the reasons that we didn't get anything from the Community Voice was Judd wasn't told about it. I think he would have followed up and handled it for us. But We got nothing from anybody. They just like to wave goodbye. This applies both to Section 8 and people that pay the rent. I will go along with everybody else because no one gets to stay. I think that's wrong. When the residents moved in, even recently, they were not told that this was going to happen. We've got residents there that have been there a couple of months. If you haven't been there a year, you get a 30-day notice. If you've been there over a year, you get a 60-day notice. If you're on housing, you get a 90-day notice. I challenge any one of you to find an apartment in that period of time. There just aren't any units around. No one was told about the impact of this sale in advance, even though a lot of people knew about it. The first time anybody heard about it was there's a notice put on the door. You've got a copy of it, I think, there. That says you've got a 30, 60, 90-day period to get the devil out. That's not the way to run a railroad. You know, you just should not treat people in that manner. As I say, I've gone up to talk to James Hackett. He just can't do a thing. He said he's got nothing available. Another thing that's going to hurt these people, if they could find an apartment, they're going to need deposit money and all the money to start up in a new apartment, assuming they can find one of the 5 units. But these folks aren't even going to give back their deposits for 21 days after they leave, which is state law. They can do that. So once again, they're kicking them in the butt on the way out. And I just, at some point, we've got to get a moral compass back. These people all have pets. All the pets have got to go. If they're forced to go back to shelters, they can't take their pets with them. They can't take their appliances with them. They can't take their furniture with them. They can't afford to store these things. The animal shelters can't afford all these animals at one time, so we're going to see some of them wave goodbye. It just doesn't seem to me that we should do this to these folks. The new manager, there's one there on site, now has locked herself in. She pulls the drapes every day. She sits in there with the lights off. They've changed the phone number, changed the locks, so you really can't even talk to anybody. There's a long-distance phone call you can call, but they don't really give a rip. This is what I got to tell you, and I've been told again that the city can't be involved, but I'm hoping that this goes out on the TV and people listen up, and at some point, one of you folks, you were elected because you're smart about this kind of stuff. I would hope one of you folks can figure out a way to delay the permits, do something to show these young punks that this is not the way to live their life. And again, until we do, I think we ought to take down that sign at the entrance to Rohnert Park. It's not the friendly city.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we have a consent calendar. All the items on the consent calendar are considered together by one or more actions.